Christmas Eve at Fairmont Crest looked like a promise made of light. Every doorway was framed with garland, every window glittered, as if the whole neighborhood had agreed to pretend the year's damage could be erased by warmth and music. Yet the closer the Dupree family gathered, the more the air tightened. It was the familiar paradox of their world. The more beautiful the setting, the more brutal the truth felt when it finally arrived. The house was full, but the silence between certain people was louder than any festive chatter. Even Anita's calm carried an edge, like someone choosing grace not because the moment deserved it, but because the alternative would shatter everyone at once. Vernon was the first crack. He moved through the room as if he were holding something heavy behind his ribs, something that made every smile cost more than it should. He had always been the steady one, the anchor, the man who could smooth over an argument with a glance and turn chaos into order by sheer will. Tonight, that power looked exhausted. His hands lingered too long on the back of a chair. His eyes drifted too often toward the front door. His breathing seemed to reset every time Sharon's name floated into a conversation. The more Vernon tried to appear normal, the more he looked like a man trapped inside a costume of himself. Sharon arrived with the kind of composure that could only be learned through years of surviving judgment. She did not act like an intruder, but she also did not act like she belonged. She carried that careful middle ground, present enough to be seen, polite enough to be tolerated, restrained enough to keep anyone from calling her selfish. But she felt the stares, she always did, and tonight she felt something worse than stares. She felt expectation, the strange collective instinct of a family that senses a storm is coming and subconsciously decides who it wants to blame before the thunder even speaks. Sharon kept her face smooth, but inside she was bracing, because she knew how quickly a holiday could become a public trial when the wrong secret found the wrong moment. Danny tried to carve out her own pocket of peace with Andre. Their first Christmas together should have been simple, something tender and private, two people choosing each other, letting the world shrink for one night. Instead, Danny could feel the invisible pressures pressing down from every corner of the room. The Duprees did not merely celebrate, they performed stability.
They smiled like it was a contract. They laughed like it was a shield. Danny wanted to protect Andre from the family's sharp edges, but she also wanted to protect herself from what she feared most, the possibility that even love could become collateral damage in a larger war. She watched Andre's face as he took everything in, and her heart tightened with admiration and dread at the same time. Andre was not naive. He could sense the fractures. He could see Vernon's restless body language, Sharon's carefully measured distance, the way certain relatives spoke a little too loudly, as if volume could bury suspicion. Andre's calm was not the calm of someone unbothered. It was the calm of someone choosing not to flinch. Andre's thoughts were darker than he allowed himself to show. The Dupree home was beautiful, but beauty meant nothing if it was built over rot. He could feel that something was about to be exposed, and he understood the cruel timing of it. Christmas Eve did not soften truth, it sharpened it. When families broke during the holidays, the break was louder because it happened against a backdrop of expectation. Andre could already imagine the headlines inside Fairmont Crest, the whispers that would travel faster than any official statement. He thought of Danny's face when she believed in fresh starts, and he hated the idea that tonight might teach her a different lesson. Across town, Ted stood in the middle of his own version of Christmas Eve, the kind of evening designed to look like redemption. He had curated it carefully, food that suggested effort, decorations that suggested family, an attitude that suggested he could still be the man others wanted him to be. But Ted had always misunderstood something about redemption. You could not stage it like a photo. The past did not care about effort. The past only cared about consequences. When the first unexpected guest arrived, Ted felt the warning flare in his chest, that instinct that told him this was not a coincidence. By the time the second showed up, and then the third, Ted realized the night had turned into a trap built out of timing. 3 visitors, each with a different reason for coming, each unknowingly forming a perfect triangle around him. Ted had spent so long believing he could manage people with charm and strategic restraint, but tonight the room felt smaller with every new presence. The air tasted like confrontation, even without anyone speaking openly.
Ted's mind raced, calculating exits that would not look like cowardice and explanations that would not sound like guilt. He wanted to control the narrative, but the narrative was beginning to control him. Back at the Dupree gathering, the tension climbed in small, quiet steps. It did not explode all at once. It crept. It lived in glances and pauses, in the way a sentence ended too abruptly, in the way a laugh sounded slightly forced. And then the music began. There was something almost cruel about how beautiful it was. The song, written for this night, for this family, for this holiday, wrapped itself around the room like a soft hand. People wanted to surrender to it. They wanted to believe it meant healing. But for Vernon, the melody felt like a tightening rope. Each line of it carried memories he had tried to keep buried. Each note felt like it was pulling a truth up from the floorboards. He could not stop thinking about how easily a song could turn into a confession if the wrong person heard it with the right kind of suspicion. Anita watched Vernon the way she had watched him for years, not just with love, but with recognition. She knew the shape of his fear. She knew when he was trying to contain something that was already leaking. Anita's calm was not ignorance, it was discipline. She had spent her whole life learning how to keep a family standing when the ground under it shifted. But even she could feel the shift now, and she could sense that whatever was coming would not be a private crock, it would be a public rupture. There was a part of her that wanted to stop it, to pull Vernon aside, to demand the truth, to make him face it in a controlled space. Yet another part of her understood that some storms chose their own moment, and fighting the timing only made the fallout uglier. The secret broke the way ice breaks, suddenly, loudly, after hours of seeming solid. It was not delivered as a dramatic announcement from one person standing tall. It was worse. It was revealed through the way details aligned. A gift that didn't make sense. A card that carried handwriting too familiar. A look exchanged between Vernon and Sharon that lasted a fraction of a second too long, but long enough for someone paying attention. The room changed as the realization spread, not as one wave, but as multiple small shocks hitting different people in different orders. Some faces hardened with anger, some went pale with betrayal.
Some looked almost relieved, as if they had been waiting for the other shoe to drop for years. In that moment, the Dupree family became a room full of private griefs colliding. Sharon felt the heat of judgment pour over her, and it took every ounce of her restraint not to crumble under it. She had prepared for criticism, but not for the specific cruelty of being blamed during a holiday, being turned into the villain in the very moment everyone wanted to pretend they were celebrating love. Sharon's mind moved fast, rewinding years, choices, compromises, nights where silence felt safer than honesty. She wondered if she had ever truly been forgiven in this community, or if she had merely been tolerated until someone needed a target. Her composure held, but inside she was splintering. She was tired of being strong in rooms that only respected strength when it served them. Vernon's internal conflict was a war. He wanted to protect Anita from humiliation, to protect the family from scandal, to protect Sharon from cruelty, to protect himself from being seen as weak. But protection had become a lie he could no longer maintain. The moment the secret surfaced, Vernon felt something in him collapse, a lifetime of carefully managed authority cracking under the weight of one truth. The worst part was not even the revelation itself. The worst part was what followed, the instant recalculation in everyone's eyes. They were rearranging history in real time, reinterpreting every gesture, every decision, every silence. Vernon realized he was not simply losing privacy. He was losing the version of himself his family had built its security around. Danny felt her own anger ignite, but it wasn't clean anger. It was tangled with empathy and fear. She hated the way the room turned predatory, the way love and loyalty were suddenly treated as weapons. She wanted to protect Vernon because she understood what it meant to make one wrong decision and have it define you forever. She wanted to protect Sharon because she could see the loneliness behind the composure. But she also felt the sting of being part of a family that demanded perfection and punished anyone who disrupted the illusion. Danny looked at Andre, and in his eyes she saw the question he would never ask out loud. whether this was what her world always did, whether it devoured its own when the mask slipped. Danny's chest tightened, because she could not promise him it wouldn't happen again. Andre felt himself standing at the edge of a line. He could either become another silent witness, the kind of man who watched a family destroy itself and did nothing, or he could step into the heat and risk being burned with them. He thought about what it meant to belong. He thought about how love required more than private tenderness. It required public courage. But Andre also understood the politics of a powerful family. Intervening too early could make him an enemy. Staying quiet too long could make him complicit. That indecision pressed on him like a weight, and he hated that Christmas Eve had turned into a test of his character. Elsewhere, Eva and Isaiah reached their own milestone under the glow of holiday lights, and for a brief moment it felt like the season was doing what it promised, giving someone a new beginning. Eva wanted to believe in certainty. She wanted to believe that the warmth between them meant safety. But the shockwaves from the Dupree household traveled through Fairmont Crest like an electric current. Eva could feel the lesson embedded in the night. Secrets didn't disappear because you wanted love to be real. Secrets simply waited for the prettiest moment to reveal themselves. Eva's happiness flickered with unease. She told herself she deserved joy, yet she could not shake the fear that she was walking into something she hadn't fully understood. Isaiah's presence felt solid, but she had learned the hard way that solidity could be an illusion. By the end of the night, Fairmont Crest did not feel like a neighborhood celebrating Christmas Eve. It felt like a community holding its breath. The Dupree house was no longer just a home filled with tradition. It was a battleground of trust. Ted, surrounded by 3 unexpected visitors, realized he was about to lose control of more than just his holiday. Danny and Andre stood together, but the air between them carried the weight of what this family could do when it felt threatened. Sharon remained composed, but the cost of that composure was growing unbearable. Vernon looked at the people he loved and saw something he had never wanted to see, that even love could turn ruthless when power was at stake. And just when it seemed like the worst truth had already surfaced, a new detail emerged, small enough to be missed by anyone not paying attention, but sharp enough to change everything. The secret that had been exposed was not the only secret in the room.
Someone had guided it toward this moment. Someone had chosen Christmas Eve on purpose. And as the realization settled, one terrifying question began to rise in the minds of those who understood the game. If this was the reveal they were forced to swallow tonight, what was the reveal waiting for them after the holiday, when the house would be quieter and the knives could finally come out without the cover of music?